Hello and welcome. I am Ashwani Mishra, Editor Technology at ETH Insights, and I have been joined today by Srikanth AK, CEO at KLAY. AK, welcome to this conversation.
Thank you.
Right, primary education, pre-primary education is of critical importance. How is KLAY enabling this, and what are the steps that you have taken in this direction?
So we've been in the pre-primary space for about 12 years now. In a national level, I think we were one of the first to emerge nationally. When we came into the scene, it was mostly smaller players who were operating one or two centers.
Right.
I think our founder was pediatrician, so it was her dream that she helps women get back to work guilt-free.
Right.
And what started as one small center in Whitefield, Bangalore, has now grown to over 150 centers across India.
Right.
So we've helped about over 60, 70,000 families happily go back to work over the years. And we currently have about close to 12,000 children in our system who are attending these centers.
Absolutely. So in some form, you have tried to address two challenges with this initiatives. One, educating children, and the second, when women were dropping out of their work because of the balance that they had to manage children and work.
So in India, actually, the percentage of women in the formal workplace is a very small percentage. It's lower than Pakistan.
Oh, okay.
Which is alarming because we have such a huge pool of talented women
True.
who drop out of the workforce primarily because they don't have a reliable place to take care of their children. So yes, we are happy that we're able to help with that by providing reliable care. And of course, the second part of what we do is because children at this age group that we're referring to, you have children from 6 months to 6 years who attend our system. And they say scientifically that 80% of the brain development of the child actually happens at this age.
Right.
So I think it's a very crucial age for them to learn how to learn. And I think that's what we do.
Absolutely. And this question is more out of curiosity, EK. Do you also have these engagements for specially able children, or is it?
We this year have started with a program that we call inclusion, or we call it KLAY Together.
Right.
Now, inclusion in a technical sense means welcoming a child with any difference that portrays the child as minority. It could be the race, it could be the color, nationality. It could also be something to do with being on an autism spectrum, being on those kinds of spectrums as well, or being physically, challenged. It could be any of these.
Right.
So while children of all nationalities were always welcome in our schools, we do not have any bar. As long as you're a child, you're welcome.
Right.
That's the way we looked at it. This year, we've started a program at a select few schools where we are taking in children who are diagnosed to be on the spectrum of autism, where the physicians or the caregivers, the primary caregivers of the child, feel that socialization can help the child.
Right.
So while if there is a very advanced case of autism that probably needs different kind of support, which we are not in a position to give right now, but if it is a high functioning autism,
right,
we welcome those children, and we are looking at spreading the program across the country. Right now we've just started it in Bangalore, but we are looking at spreading the program across the country.
That's really commendable. So KLAY Together is what you said.
KLAY Together.
Right. What are the challenges, AK, overall when we speak of pre-primary education across the strata and across the country?
See, the problem is that pre-primary, so it comes on multiple levels. One, at this age group, we are talking about education and care going together.
Right.
Education comes under the Ministry of Education.
Right.
Care is more related to the Ministry of Women and Child Affairs.
Right.
So technically, we are in the middle of two ministries who don't often agree on everything, including a list of holidays. That is on one level.
Right.
I think on the other level, the seriousness that this age group has for development is something that is still dawning on India. Traditionally, this was seen as a daycare where you could leave a child behind for some time while you went about to do your work. I
Right.
think there's a lot more to care than that way of thinking. While the knowledge on this is much better in the major metro cities, I think in a smaller town, this remains something that is not completely
True.
understood. And of course, a third point where the feeling is that in any case, my child is going to go to full-time school later. Why do I need to do this right now? There's grandparents at home to take care of the child, or we have extended family.
So there is awareness that needs to be raised here.
Yes, so I think what they are saying is that since there's help at home, why do we need to send the
Right.
child? And you need to send the child because socialization is something your grandparents can't do. The child needs to be with other children her age.
Age. Right.
And that development is hugely critical at this age. And it's not just enough to go around and play downstairs in the apartment complex for 2 hours. It's a lot more than that.
True. True. True.
So I think this awareness, building it, is a time-consuming business. It's an expensive business to advertise this fact across the country. So we're doing it in a small way. But I think if you were to say the three biggest things that could be termed as challenges, I think these would be.
Absolutely. Right. Last 3-4 years post-pandemic, we have seen a huge change in the whole education system itself. Now, what have been the learnings, and what are the things that you continue to do that you started off in during the pandemic?
Sure. So one major difference is the use of screen time. Pre-pandemic, we were a group or we were an institution that said no to screen time. In fact, none of our schools had television sets.
Right.
Children were not plonked in front of the TV at any point. During the pandemic, we suddenly overnight had to switch to online modes of teaching and delivery of lesson plans, which we had to relearn and quickly implement because it all came so suddenly.
Right.
I think where we are today post-pandemic is that we understand that online learning at this age cannot substitute physical learning. That I think is very clear in our.
True.
But we're also saying that ed tech or technology can be brought to classrooms in ways to enhance the experience of the child in multiple ways. So I think it's opened our eyes to learning how technology can be effectively used inside a classroom,
Right.
which I think we were not looking at pre-pandemic. And I think it's the pandemic that caused us to explore new things, and that's why these facets are now entering our classroom.
And how have you been leveraging technology?
It could be as simple as delivering lesson plans to the teachers on their tablets.
Right.
It could be as exciting as gamification of some things which the child goes through. In a sense, you take the story of Little Red Riding Hood.
Right.
With very simple cameras and setups, without any devices worn, the child can actually go through the forest like she's Little Red Riding Hood.
Right.
And that
Right.
experience of the 3D imagery that we can create, or we can show them a marketplace, we can show them places where we typically will have difficulty
Right.
taking them. I think that lends itself in a huge way. Gamification makes it interesting for children in certain concepts. Certain children are very adept at learning it through gamification, so we are addressing the needs of those children. In assisted supervision, of course, so that we're not
Right.
overdoing any of this.
Right.
And I think all this is a new phenomenon for us.
Absolutely. So I was reading stuff, while browsing the net, metaverse as a concept, and especially in education, in some parts of the globe has been gaining traction.
Yes.
Do you intend to look at that?
We do. We're taking baby steps. I think it's still evolving. Much of it might also be beyond the price tag of being able to effectively implement it in all its glory.
Right.
But you have a lot of very bright minds in this industry, especially in the city of Bangalore, who are working on these aspects, and they're making it more and more affordable for daycares and schools to be able to implement it inside a schooling system. So we're watching a lot emerge in this right now. So it's truly exciting times.
Absolutely. Final question that I had for you, AK. What is your vision, maybe 3, 4, 5 years down the line?
In a very simple terminology for KLAY, it would be that I need to see KLAY as the Harvard of early childhood education and care in India.
Right.
And when I say Harvard, that's a placeholder. You could make it Stanford or Wharton or whatever suits you. I think what I'm trying to say is that we need to be recognized as thought leaders in the space of early childhood, and we need to be practitioners of those thought leadership principles within our school premises.
Absolutely, you summed it up pretty well. Thought leaders in that particular space, that sums it up perfectly well. Thank you, AK, for your views. It was great having this conversation with you.
Thank you for having me over.
Right, that was Srikanth AK speaking with us. Do stay tuned for more such episodes on ETH Insights. Thank you.